Ha ha, I was right, and these people were all wrong. Okay, these two comments here were pretty funny though. But jokes aside, yes, it is official. Scribing is coming with the new chapter later this year. And this will be the Elder Scrolls Online's unique take on a spellcrafting system. They aren't calling it spellcrafting, as they do want to differentiate between other iterations of this type of system that exist in other Elder Scrolls games, but we'll get into the details of what we know about it here in just a bit. So for this video, I'll go through the new stuff that we just learned will be coming in 2024, and I gotta say, I'm already pretty hyped. Now, just a quick disclosure, this video was put together before the official reveal. Sauce was kind enough to invite me to a call where I got to learn about the new features coming. So there is a chance that there was something in that reveal that we didn't go over in the call. But if there's anything that really stands out, I'll make sure to follow up with another video covering it. But I think I should have most of it here. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the roadmap of what's coming to the Elder Scrolls Online in 2024. In quarter one, we'll have update 41, which is our typical dungeon pack that we're used to seeing at the start of the year. The dungeons this time are Oathsworn Pit and Bedlam Vale. We'll also get the new prologue quest to lead into the chapter. And they said that there will be some miscellaneous quality of life features as well. They also mentioned that the story in the dungeons will tie into the main story that will come with the chapter later this year. There will be an official preview of these new dungeons live on Twitch, January 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then update 41 will hit the PTS that following Monday, January 29th. And then it will go live on PC on March 11th, and then 2 weeks later on console. So as usual, I'll be doing my in-depth patch note review over on Twitch on the 29th as soon as those patch notes are posted. For quarter two, we have update 42, the new chapter, The Gold Road. This is located in the Westweald, and the main focus being on that town that many of you will know from Oblivion, Skingrad. The Gold Road will come with most of what you're used to seeing in a chapter: the delves, world bosses, public dungeons, a world event, dailies, all that good stuff. And then the 12-person trial will be called Lucent Citadel. They did change things up a bit in that the two new companions will not be in Q2 this year like they normally are, but instead will come in Q4. And then the big new feature coming with the chapter is called Scribing. I'm going to get into this a little more here in just a bit. So this will release on June 3rd on PC and June 18th on console. And then for Q3, there will be some quality of life features coming. We didn't really get any details, but they did say that there will be a, quote, really cool housing feature coming. But we'll have to wait and see what that one's going to be. And then for Q4, they said there will be a pretty cool PvP update, and that PvP is definitely a big part of our future. And they did note that the update is separate from Cyrodiil. And as I mentioned earlier, the two companions with their stories will also be in this update. Alright, I won't keep you all waiting anymore. The part that most of you are probably here for, the scribing system. Zaw said that fictionally this is a precursor to what could become spellcrafting 1,000 years in the future, and that one of the big goals of the feature, more player customization avenues. Does look like accompanying this system will be a multi-quest story arc, and you'll get the story of Ulfsild and her research into the precursors of magic. So let's break down what scribing is. So the first part of this will be customizable skills. At launch, they're going to focus on the weapon skill lines, and also Mage's Guild, Fighter's Guild, Soul Magic, Assault, and Support. So that should be 11 skill lines total, and they said each one of these lines will have at least one unique unlockable skill that you can configure and tinker with. And these new scribed skills will be divided into 3 components: grimoires, scripts, and inks. So let's talk about the grimoires first. These are the base skills that you have to work from that you will unlock in the different skill lines. So this part doesn't really have any power to it. It's simply the vehicle to deliver your custom configured skill. So they gave us an example here, Vault. This is in the bow skill line. The grimoire for this says, shoot the ground with an enchanted arrow while using the force of the shot to gracefully leap backwards. So there isn't any damage or healing or anything like that tied to the base grimoire here. It did say that it's an instant cast ability. It has a range of 15 meters, a radius of 8 meters, and it looks to have a dynamic cost depending on what you choose for the skill. So the grimoire here is kind of the core of the skill that is always there. And then the next part is where it gets really interesting. We have the scripts. So I threw together this little mock UI here based on what they gave us in the presentation. We weren't allowed to do any captures or anything, so it's likely you all got to see something a little more cleaned up in the reveal. I'm not sure, but this should at least give you a good idea of how it's going to work. First off, they said it will be a huge list of scripts, not just what you see here, and that there also is a smart system. So based on what you pick for your primary script, some secondary or tertiary choices might not be available. So as you can see, even with them giving just a short list of examples, there are already tons of different combos that you could come up with for this skill. And they did go ahead and provide an example for that as well, Venomous Vault. For the primary, shoot the ground with an enchanted arrow dealing poison damage to all enemies near you while using the force of the shot to gracefully leap backwards. So pretty similar to the base there, we just have that poison now attached to it. And then the secondary is upon activation, grant yourself a stack of Hawkeye for 5 seconds. So this is one of the bow skill line passives. And then the tertiary said, enemies damaged in the area are afflicted with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds. So this is just one of what seems to be a pretty nutty amount of possible combinations, as again they said there will be a huge list of scripts, not just what you see here. So a combo of those three that's already sounding pretty nice to me is Fire, Damage Over Time, and Savagery and Prophecy. We don't have an example of the specifics of what that would look like, but I can imagine for many classes that would be a nice addition to their kit for DPS. And then that's just one possible route for one of the skills that we're getting. So it seems like this new system is going to be insane. Crafting it looks a bit like how the enchanting system works, where you just kind of combine the pieces together that you want to achieve the desired outcome. But they said there will be way more combos than what is currently available through enchanting. And then the third component of the scribed ability will be the ink. The ink is the currency that you use when you want to scribe an ability or modify one. I didn't get any details past that, but it seems like it will just be that component to ensure you have to invest something into the creation of it and not just change it to whatever you want, whenever you want. But we'll have to wait for more details on that. Again, if there is more unveiled during the reveal, I'll do a follow-up video on this to make sure that all of the details are covered for y'all. So those are the three components: the grimoires, which are the base ability, the scripts, which are the customizable part where you get to craft the spell just the way you want it, and then the ink as a way to lock it all in. And one last note, they did say that the grimoires fit directly into these skill lines, so when you open up your bow line, you'll see that new vault ability once it's unlocked. And so since it is a bow ability, it will be affected by all bonuses to bow skills, and this will be true of the other lines as well. So for example, if you're in the Infinite Archive and you get that bonus to guild skills, it should work for whatever scribed abilities you have set up in those lines as well. But as cool as all of that is, that isn't all. At the beginning of this section, I said customizing skills is the first part. Well, the second part will be stylings, and this will allow you to change the colors of your abilities. They said there will be 22 styles available at launch. An example they gave was a purple color that you could apply to your Wall of Elements skill. And they also mentioned that this does open up the door to other customization as well in the future, maybe skins on pets, changing the looks of the effects themselves, but this is kind of down the road stuff. It looks like at launch it will just be the 22 color adjustments, and it did seem like these are for the non-scribing abilities. They did say all 22 available at launch are in-game rewards, so I didn't see any details on how to earn them specifically, but it doesn't look like any of these will be in the cash shop to start out at least. So I'm super hyped about the scribing system and really the styling part of it too. I think this is going to add such a cool new dynamic to the game. So I can't wait to actually get my hands on the full list and see what kinds of combinations are possible there. But I'll definitely be covering it all in detail here on YouTube and on my live streams as well once we have some more information. So for the last section of this video and the call that I was in with Zoss, we did get to have a Q&A, so I did want to quickly go through a few of those points that were brought up during the presentation. So nothing super detailed here, but I picked out some points that I thought were worth mentioning that I figured you all might be interested in hearing. So first up, hybridization and combat. They did address that food and potions are still in the works to be adjusted, but they did not give an exact date on when it will be finished. But I was glad to hear that it was at least acknowledged that they know it's not complete and it needs to be wrapped up. So at least it's something that is in the works. They also mentioned there shouldn't be any major sweeping overhauls to the existing pieces in place in the combat system. There will be adjustments, of course, and quality of life and balance fixes, but no upcoming big fundamental changes to what is in place, aside from finishing the hybridization and putting in that new scribing system. For the Infinite Archive and the future of that, no specific timeframes or details, but they said to expect more for the archive, including more class sets. So not a lot to work with here, but pretty much confirmed that it will be a piece of content that will continue to see updates in the future. Crossplay. This is one that a lot of people ask about. They said they made a lot of choices back in 2007 to 2009 that makes crossplay a really challenging thing to implement now. Plus established communities and economies. They said it's a tough problem to solve, but they said they do hear the feedback, and so it sounded like something that they are exploring solutions to. It's just not going to happen anytime soon. Overland difficulty. They want to continue to balance towards the lowest common denominator. They said they want the story quest balance so that everyone can participate. They said they felt like they made a mistake at launch in it being too hard. Personally, I understand where they're coming from, but I would just love it if there were options. I'm not saying they should increase the base difficulty and upset people, but so many of us veteran players and even a lot of new players who are just experienced with gaming think that the Overland is way too easy and needs a veteran mode to make the questing more engaging. This is definitely one of the most common things I see brought up, so I hope they will consider it further. Inventory size. They said they prefer to look at ways to reduce inventory pressure rather than continue to increase the size of the inventories. I think this is probably a good idea. Instead of just upping the amount by a small bit here and there, create systems that alleviate some of the pressure on your inventory and bank space. In a summary of the future of the game, including the base game, they said the big focus will be technology, accessibility, and more stuff for players to do and experience in the world. And this is in contrast to the earlier years of them kind of finding their footing with what they want the game to be. So that said, it is safe to assume that we will start to see some base game changes and improvements going forward. But that pretty much wraps up the info for the 2024 reveal. Like I said earlier, if we do end up getting some extra important details, I'll definitely do a follow-up video to get those covered. But let me know what you all think about what's coming this year. I honestly could not be happier with the new system that was added. I've been wanting spellcrafting pretty much since launch, and while this doesn't have the name spellcrafting, it does have the soul of it. And I'm just super excited. Can't wait to get my hands on it and start coming up with new skills. Thank you so much for watching. A big shout out to my current Patreon supporters and YouTube members. The contributions help a ton to keep the website and YouTube channel going. And a special thanks to Nicholas, Simon, Cougars Bay in the Cougar City Guild, the Order of War Guild, Cantankerous Cat, Shady, Iffy, Blake1816, Mordecai 1212, Santanico, Vidridi, Florian, Phoenix, Nalandia, Unemployed, Chryseliana, Cha-Cha, Technical KO, Cap, Danco77, and Pletpron. Thanks again and see you later. Bye.